What's going on YouTube? How we doing today? So every year Bleacher Report kind of puts these top 100 editions out. I'm just now realizing it's top 100 players of all time. They're really going out on a limb here putting this one out. Every year these posts are super controversial, gets them a lot of engagement, I'm sure, but it's talked about online a lot, and I thought it'd be really funny to kind of just sit here and react to that with you guys today. Kind of a fun, laid back video. But I'm sure there's a lot of controversial stuff in here. I haven't seen a lot of the list yet. I've only seen one thing, which we'll get into when I get there. But this should be a fun one. So let's get into it. Pistons legend, Dave, Jason Tatum. Everybody knows Jason Tatum is my favorite NBA player in the league. I'm joking, but all jokes aside, he does have a championship, so having him on this list is completely reasonable. Chauncey Billups, Colorado Buffalo, go Buffs, legend right there. Chris Webber, Earl Monroe. Let's go down a bit. Alonzo Mourning, another Heat legend right here. Tony Parker, another probably underrated player all time. I like how they have the list right here where they say like the highest ranking that they've had. I guess they've done this list regularly. I've only seen lists about current players from Bleacher Report. I haven't seen an all-time list. So I find that really interesting. But scroll down a bit. Jimmy Butler at 83. Okay. Though the endings of the Jimmy Butler experience can be grating. Yeah, facts. This was most evident during his time in Miami, where his ability to flip a postseason switch went mostly unrivaled. Yup, no business. Facts. That's all facts. The best version of Butler is anomalous in its completeness. He has long left much to be desired as a jump shooter, but he can play the part of your top scorer. Yep. This is kind of crazy, actually. Giannis, AD, LeBron, and Kawhi Leonard are the only active players to have more seasons averaging at least 20 points while also making an all-defense squad. That's a pretty cool stat. I wonder why he dropped from 61 to 83. I guess they thought maybe he'd contribute more, but I think Jimmy Butler at his very best is way higher than 83, but you got to factor in longevity in the career that he's had, and that's why he's so down here. But, anybody that watched basketball in the 2020s knows how good Jimmy Butler is when he's at his best. A lot of kind of legends that really aren't talked about enough. MVPG right here, Paul George. Yeah, really just ran to LeBron when he was at his best. That's one way to put it. But I mean, he almost won an MVP one year, the Thunder. Of course, the Thunder ended up flipping that for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but he's a good player. Let's see. Pistol Pete Maravich could arguably be a lot higher. Alex English, one of the best Denver Nuggets ever. Arguably was until very recently. Manu Ginobili over Tony Parker. I find that a little interesting. I feel like you could make the case that Tony Parker was a better player than Manu Ginobili, so that's a really interesting one for me. Ginobili attacked with I don't even know that word. So much of his legacy is tied to sacrifice and winning. This is also someone with multiple All NBA appearances on his resume and one of the top 75 3-year peaks in league history. Boiling down his totals for the Spurs way sells him short. He is an all-time great in a vacuum. Them having him at 42 is insane, but this is a better range for him around top 75. Chris Bosh, Boshzilla right here. Blood clots forced him to retire early in his career. Well, not early, it was still late in his career, but he was an all-star player when he retired, so his career was cut short. He led some Heat teams to the playoffs that even went as far as the semifinals, a game away from the conference finals. Chris Bosh was ahead of his time as far as bigs go in the league. Like right now, every team wants a Chris Bosh type of big, a 6'11", 7-foot guy that is a rim protector, can shoot the three, has some post game, even a lob threat. Just really ahead of his time as a player. Kyrie Irving at 69, just a little bit above Chris Bosh. I would agree with that too. Um, really, the accolade of his career, of course, would be his performance in that 2016 NBA Finals, where he was phenomenal. He had a great year with the Brooklyn Nets as well before he got hurt. In terms of just complete skill and ball handling, he's one of the best players the league has ever seen. So well deserved. Man, This is a tough one right here. Joel Embiid just can't stay healthy. Joel Embiid, if he stays healthy, I mean, I think he could make a case of like top 25. He just never is healthy, but when he is, he's a top five player in the league. He's the best big right up there with Jokic. He's behind Jokic, but I mean, he was a phenomenal player. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. He gets you 30 points a game. He's a shot blocker. He can shoot the three, can shoot the mid range. He's got a post game. He can do it all. He just hasn't been healthy, and that's kind of been the story of his career. But I think this is a good spot for him. Two-time scoring champion, too. Vince Carter, great. Damian Lillard at 64. That's a fine spot for him. I would expect this to be a lot higher if we look back on this list in, 5 years. I don't know how often they do this list, but I mean, he's already been to an NBA Finals. He's been to a conference finals. Really, he's really just missing the ring. If he were to have that ring, he would be around this top 30, top 40 range. You got to think at some point Luka's going to get this ring. He's still young. He's younger than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the league MVP. Of course, there's going to be questions about Luka's defense and his conditioning. I really think Luka's going to come back and be on a tear this coming season. Are they going to get a championship? I don't know, because the West is absolutely loaded and the Lakers still have some questions to figure out. But this is going to rise a lot. But for now, I would say this is a pretty good spot for Luka. Dwight Howard. Here's another guy that really this doesn't get talked about anymore. But when he was in his prime in the late 2000s, Dwight Howard was by far the best center in the league for a couple year stretch, kind of like the one Jokic is on right now. Defensive beast, just a paint beast, honestly. You don't see a lot of bigs like Dwight Howard anymore, especially in the starting lineup, because Dwight Howard obviously has never had a good 3-point shot. He's never been a good free throw shooter, but think of it like a baby Shaq. He got that Orlando Magic team to the finals. The fit really didn't work out too well in Houston, but he was still a good player while he was there. So, pretty good spot for Dwight Howard. Really a forgotten player, especially in recent NBA years. But he did finally get that championship with the Lakers, so that's pretty cool. Ray Allen, one of my favorite players of all time. Top five, probably top three shooter in league history. Really helped revolutionize the game with his 3-point shooting. He finally got that ring with the Heat. He hit probably the biggest shot, one of the biggest shots in NBA history with that three in game six to help send it to overtime, where the Heat, of course, would go on to win game seven. Yeah, he was even in a dunk contest. And it's funny because a lot of people, especially younger, wouldn't think Ray Allen as a great dunker, but early in his career, he was a really good athlete. Just a great player, really good role player late in his career, and a guy that any team would have wanted to have in those years. Paul Pierce himself, it's a good spot for him. Russell Westbrook at 48. I bet a lot of people are thinking this one's low. I kind of want to hear what they have to say here. Russ Westbrook has always played with the fire and fear that is at once perceived. Yeah. This is the league MVP who made us numb to triple doubles. Facts. His unbridled athleticism both endured longer than most other explosive athletes. Yeah, he's still a great athlete. There is a fine line between greatness and arrogance. Westbrook has shadowed it, blurred it, even swallowed it whole. Pause. Whatever your thoughts on his style and demeanor, there is no refuting the MVP, 9 All NBA appearances, 3 assist titles, and 2 scoring titles he has amassed with his force of nature approach. This is another one where if he does have a ring, he's a lot higher than 48. The numbers when he was the number one option, I mean, it's undeniable. He was one of the best players in the league at that point. Um, I think the biggest thing for him was just efficiency and the fact he hasn't got that ring. That's always been the big knock. I mean, you can kind of see it right here with his shooting. Might as well zoom this in a bit too while we're at it. But yeah, I would say a lot of people would have Russ a lot higher than 48. I feel like that's a pretty good spot for him, just considering a lot of things, but undeniably one of the most dynamic offensive players the league has ever seen. I really haven't seen one where I'm like too crazy about yet. Definitely a couple that I think should be a lot higher. Anthony Davis at 45. Similar to Joel Embiid's situation, if it wasn't for injuries, I think this guy could be a lot higher. Lately, he's been pretty healthy, but Anthony Davis, I think in his prime was one of the best players in the league. the year that he won with the Lakers, he was phenomenal. Definitely a top 5 player in the league that season. Kind of a guy that gets disrespected for missing a lot of games, but the talent's always been there, no question. I think this is a pretty good spot for him at 45. George Mikan, the Mikan drill. George Gervin, the Iceman. Patrick Ewing. Clyde Drexler, probably the greatest Portland Trailblazer in history. Either him or Dame, maybe Bill Walton. Bob Cousy, another Celtics legend. There's a ton of them on this list. Allen Iverson. Same honestly, he's in such a similar situation to Russell Westbrook. Obviously, their games are pretty different, right? But I feel like if you're a huge fan of Allen Iverson, you're probably a huge fan of Russell Westbrook. Just a great scorer, super dynamic athlete, just a lot of fun to watch. Got that Sixers team to the finals. Of course, lost to the three-peat Shaq Kobe team. But yeah, in his prime, it's a really fun player to watch. One of the most iconic players the league has ever seen. 36 is a good spot for him. Steve Nash at 35. Back-to-back MVP winner, a guy that averaged 50, 40, 90. Yeah, his points isn't too high. His assists per game isn't too high, but he was a super efficient player. I don't believe Nash ever got a championship. Funny, he even acknowledged he probably should have shot the ball more. I would agree. But really efficient player. Do I think he should have won both those MVPs that he won in those back-to-backs? No. Kobe probably should have got one, but great player nonetheless. There's James Harden. I was wondering where Harden would be on this list. I'm a pretty big James Harden fan. Most devastating pick and roll forces the game has ever seen. Elite quickness, strength, craft, made it impossible to stay in front. Teams actually prefer to play defense behind them. That gets talked about all the time still. He's led the league in usage rate, never consistently defended, and couldn't lead his team to title. Harden has more than his share of detractors, but he was also among the best offensive players in the game for a decade. That matters, yeah. Highest top 100 ranking around 24. That's the range I have him in. And, you know, I don't want to make the whole video about that, but I have him in that range because he was going up against the greatest team of all time in that, Warriors team with Kevin Durant, Curry, Clay, all those guys. We've really never seen an offensive force, at least in my lifetime, like James Harden, right? LeBron's obviously great. Shea right now is good. Jokic is a beast. Russ obviously had some incredible years, but the step back threes. He lead the league in assists multiple times. He was a scoring champion all these times. He got really close to getting a championship once with Chris Paul when nobody thought that team would work. He can play point guard. He can play shooting guard. He can be pass first. He can be score first. Just a really good offensive weapon. I think when he put on weight, he got a little bit better defensively, but nonetheless, I definitely would have him a little higher, but I'm not upset about him being at 34. Jason Kidd, James Harden is just better than Jason Kidd all time. I'm going to say that right now. I'd have him over that. Ooh, Kawhi Leonard at 32. Wow. Wow. I want to see what they say about this one. I would probably agree. Dang, I guess they've never ranked him before in the top 25. I wonder how often they do this list. I think at their best, I would probably agree with that take. Top 25, top 30. 30. Is Kawhi Leonard a better all-time player than James Harden? That's a tough one. Obviously, he's a fantastic defender. He's won Defensive Player of the Year twice. Dang, maybe he is. That's a really good debate right there. I mean, I think Harden, but he's got 2 Finals MVP. Man, that's close. That's a tough one. I guess this is a pretty good spot for Kawhi Leonard the more and more I think about it. But, this is like Joel Embiid, but with championships and with more accolades. It's a similar situation for sure. John Havlicek, Chris Paul. Chris Paul, second on the all-time assist. Yeah. Paul is still playing productive basketball, top 10 finish in MVP voting. Yeah, I can't have him top 18, but he's probably a top 5 point guard of all time though. Maybe even top 3. Oh, Chris Paul's a tough one too, man. He just doesn't have a championship, but 5 assist title. Six. Yeah, yeah, no. Chris Paul's a top 30 player. I'm bugging on that one. Chris Paul deserves to be here. John Stockton at 28. Yeah, I mean, I think you can definitely make the case that Chris Paul is a better all-time player than John Stockton. Stockton never got the ring. Of course, he lost to those Jordan teams. Chris Paul lost to Giannis. But speaking of which, Giannis should be coming up relatively soon on this list. Scottie Pippen, Jordan's two. The Robin to his Batman. I almost said the Batman to his Robin. Charles Barkley, arguably the best player in NBA history and never won a championship. Just came up short with Michael Jordan, but very great player in his prime. Won an MVP, 11-time All Star, 55% shooting. Yeah, he's a great player. There's Giannis. I think this is a really good spot for Giannis right now. Um, the only thing with Giannis, I think Giannis could be a top 10 guy of all time. I have a video coming out about Giannis in the coming days, but if he were to get more championships, he would be arguably a top 10 player of all time. But this is a good spot for him. After he won that chip, I bet that's where he was post championship. He was probably at 17 because people thought he'd get another one. Just hasn't yet, but he's gotten so much better since he joined the league. I think in the 2020s, the early 2020s, people were a little high on him. I think people kind of had him as the best player in the league then. I don't think he was, but he's definitely the second best player in the league in my opinion right now. So Dwayne Wade at 23. Dwayne Wade is always a tough one to rank. Probably the best player in Heat history. Um, Dwayne Wade really just had his career kind of not his career shortened by injuries, but he had a very, very shortened prime. And Dwayne Wade in his prime was something special. His finals in 2006 was one of the best I've ever seen. He carried that Heat team to their first championship in history. Injuries just really caught up to him late in the 2010s. I mean, late in the 2000s, early 2010s. He was the two to LeBron in Miami. He was great. He was also amazing in the 2011 finals that the Heat lost. He would have been finals MVP had the Heat won those finals, and I think he'd be high on this list. Um, yeah, I like the highest top 100 around the 13 spot. I definitely have him in my top 20, but 23 is a fine spot for Dwayne Wade. Really tough one to rank. Karl Malone. Probably not going to spend too much time talking about this funny guy, but great NBA player. Just not a great anything else. Moses Malone, Julius Irving, Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki was really revolutionary. He could shoot the three, had a good post game, pretty good rebounder. It's a good spot for him. I would say this is fitting. Do I think he's better than Dwayne Wade all time? No. But 18's a fine spot for him. And there's Nikola Jokic. I was really curious to see where Nikola Jokic would be. A guy who's been viewed as one of the best players in the league for a couple of years now. He's in the same spot as Giannis, I think. Only obviously he's had a better career than Giannis. But I mean that in the sense of if he were to get another championship, you're talking about Jokic in top 10 conversations. Super efficient player, man. Like, especially these last couple of years, his numbers are more like 30, 10, and 10. Um, he's the best offensive player in the league right now. You can't really stop him. But for now, he barely misses top 15 stats among the all-time greats. His position on this list should rise throughout his career. Absolutely. He's like 30 years old. He's got plenty of time to climb this list even further. Kevin Garnett at 16. Yeah, I mean, I would say Jokic is better than Kevin Garnett all time, but Kevin Garnett's a great player. Better defender for sure. Finally got his championship in Boston. I mean, he was in Minnesota for a lot of his career. This is a good spot for him as well. Big O at 14, one of the best point guards the league has ever seen. KD at 13. I feel like people are going to talk about this one a lot as a controversial spot. I think when you're taking his career and the fact that those rings came from that Golden State team, which was absolutely loaded, if he could have got another one outside of Golden State, like with that Brooklyn team, I think he'd be in the top 10, right? Arguably the most efficient scorer of all time. Every year we think we're going to get a new KD in the league. We compare tons of guys to Kevin Durant. We still haven't got one, but He's just such a special player. He's so fun to watch. Keem Olajuwon at 12. It's a good spot for him. This is the one that I saw that made me want to do this video because I figured it'd be a lot more stuff in here. Kobe Bryant at 11. I know a lot of people are pissed about this one. A lot of people have Kobe Bryant, in their top three, some even in their top two. I don't have him that high, but to have him outside of the top 10 is pretty insane. There's a case to be made that Kobe is actually the most influential to ever set foot on the NBA's hardwood. Yeah, maybe. Older heads continue to worship at the altar of his maniacal work ethic. Absolutely. Kobe's top 10 status remains one of basketball's most heated debates here in 20 to 5. I don't think so. See, I don't see how you can have him ranked as high as 4 whenever you did this list, and then you put him all the way back to 11. He's a 5-time league champion. He's only has one MVP. He should have more than one MVP. 2-time scoring champion. I mean, yeah, he's not the most efficient player, but he's super hard to guard. He takes insane shots, right? Um, I just don't see how you go from it's such a weird range. Like, what made you? Let's just look and see what players they put ahead of him. I know I just saw one right below him that I already don't agree with, so we'll just get that out the way. Steph Curry at 10. Um, I definitely think Steph Curry's a top 10 player. Do I think he's better than Kobe Bryant? No. Finally got that Finals MVP in the last one. Really a guy that's revolutionized the game in recent years. Probably the most influential player, honestly. Really just changed the history of the game. We don't need to talk about Curry too much, but I definitely would have him top 10. He's probably the second best point guard of all time, right behind Magic Johnson. But having him over Kobe Bryant is pretty insane. Wilt Chamberlain at 9. I mean, there's just no footage of this guy playing ball. You know what I mean? It's so hard to rank him. But obviously his numbers are just ridiculous. I guess it's kind of hard not to have him in the top 10. Larry Bird, another all-time great, really ahead of his time with his game. I don't know if I'd have him over Kobe either. You could go either way on that one. Does it deserve to be top 10? Absolutely. Tim Duncan at 7. I really like this spot. I think a lot of people sleep on Tim Duncan all time. Tim Duncan such a quiet killer, but great defender, consistent scorer, man. I mean, led that Spurs team to what, 4 championships? Was it 5? And they almost got 6. They were really a couple shots away from beating that Heat team. This is a great spot for Tim Duncan. And I'm Shaq at 6. I like that spot for Shaq. Shaq could honestly have been the best player of all time if he really wanted to. It was just so easy for him. The most dominant player the league has ever seen, I'd say. Bill Russell at 5, 11 times champion. I mean, I know his accolades are crazy. He was a great defensive player. Rest in peace to him, of course. NBA legend, but I got Shaq over him. I got Duncan over him. I probably have Kobe over him, and I probably have Bird over him. I think he's at the back end of my top 10 if I had to guess where I'd put him. Magic Johnson at 4. That's a fine spot. One of the key faces of the Lakers and the biggest team in league history, arguably. Kareem at 3. Yeah, was the league's leading scorer up until a year or two ago when LeBron finally passed him, but had an unstoppable hook shot, multiple time champion. Really, the only thing was that he always had a good point guard, but yeah, this is a fine spot for him. And this is arguably the most debatable thing, right? You go back and forth between the Jordan and LeBron. I wonder if they've ever had LeBron at 1. They have. They have had him at 1. That's interesting. Okay. If he's your number 1 of all time, you won't find much pushback. It's that close between him and MJ. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you can go either way for sure. I mean, this is the biggest debate in basketball history, of course. LeBron Jordan, has been that way for 10 years. But the fact that he's still playing at this point says a lot. And Michael Jordan at 1. I really want to see, but MJ never lost on the biggest stage, and he felt pretty close to godlike in his prime. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't alive for his prime, so I think that's why a lot of younger people would say LeBron, right? Um, Obviously, he's got 6 championships. Every time he got to the finals, he won. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people don't talk about for Jordan's case in the GOAT debate is the fact that he even took a break for a couple years in his prime. So probably could have got more championships. I think if he would have gotten one or two more, we wouldn't even be having this debate, similar like the Tom Brady NFL debate. But honestly, this list wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. There's definitely a lot of things that you can argue about. Like this was a fun one to react to with you guys. Uh, Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, whether or not you guys agree with some of the things I'm saying, disagree. Open up a conversation. I'll have more videos coming soon, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.